The only thing standing between you and the woman you thought you'd be by now, the life you thought you'd be living by now, is the days that keep slipping by while nothing really changes. You've over-glorified someday so much that years have gone by and you are still in the same place. A tiny fraction of the woman you know you could be, and you are watching the months go by stuck on autopilot. I remember literally being in this exact place, anxious at how fast September comes around, how a whole year passed in a blur, and nothing inside me had shifted. I see so many women still caught there now, wanting to evolve, but not knowing how to fully express that transformation yet. No clear direction, just pressure of it all slipping by. And we think we're being patient, waiting for the right moment, the click, the sign, the certainty. But while all of that waiting is going on, nothing in our world is actually changing. Not only is the future life never built, but the present one is wasted. Another birthday, another Instagram milestone posted by someone else, and still the same quiet thought. I can't believe this is where I still am. Haunted by the idea that you've wasted your 20s and terrified you'll waste your 30s too, as the girl who had so much potential. But it's not that we don't want to change. It's that something always gets in the way of actually moving. The fear, the self-doubt, the constant what ifs. What if people I know judge me? What if it doesn't work out? What if I change everything and I still don't feel full? So instead, we end up casually bargaining with ourselves, like we're just moving a meeting in our calendar. Just let me get through this weekend when work comes down, when I get back from holiday, and before we know it, another year has been fast forwarded through like a movie we just wanted to see the end of. Not because we didn't care, but because we somehow convinced ourselves there'd always be a better time. It's the epidemic of someday, this kind of I'll get around to it mentality. And we've all felt it. We've all been mesmerized by it. We're way too nonchalant about what we want, and then one day we look back around and realize, I have barely moved, and someday just stole 5 years you thought you still had. I remember this one conversation I had with my dad. It was around the time of my oldest brother's birthday. He was nearly 40, and we were talking about how crazy it was that he was that age now, how quickly the years had gone by. One of those family time flies kind of conversations. But then I remember at some point, my dad just kind of stopped mid-thought. He leaned back, put his hands on his forehead like he was really trying to piece something together, and then, almost under his breath, he said, "Where the hell did 40 years go?" The way it came out, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some big emotional statement. It sounded the same way you'd say, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's already Friday. Feels like it was Monday yesterday." Only he wasn't just talking about a week. He was talking about 4 decades of his life. And it hit me in a way I can't even explain. Like my whole brain rewired in that second. Because if 40 years could feel like a long weekend to him, how quickly could the next 5, the next 10, the next 20 slip by me? And that changed the way I thought about how fast things go by forever. My hope is that this video can do for you what that one conversation with my dad did for me, to get you out of your head and into your next chapter. I honestly believe that being an adult is a lie, and the idea of ever reaching a point where you've got it all perfectly figured out is a complete myth. It's this story that we are led to believe even from when we are super young. When I was younger and well into my 20s, I assumed there would be this clear moment. Like one day it would all just click. I'd wake up and suddenly feel different, where I stopped questioning myself, like everything had fallen into place. But that moment never came. And the more I looked around, the more I realized it never really comes for anyone. We're all just kids in bigger bodies trying to figure it out as we go, pretending we already have. The only real difference between then and now is that now we pay our own bills and answer emails, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it. That the entire world is basically run by children wearing blazers and carrying iPads, just nodding seriously in meetings. But at the same time, it's strangely comforting, because if no one actually gets that magical arrival point, then maybe we were never meant to wait for one in the first place. There's no clipboard being handed to you. No moment where someone shakes your hand and says, "Congrats, you're a real adult now." No switch that flicks inside you where you suddenly feel ready. No inner sense of, yep, this is exactly what I was hoping for. And once you realize that and completely come to terms with it, it's this huge relief, knowing that everyone else is still figuring it out too. They're just better at pretending that they aren't. So you can stop holding your breath for that click, that imaginary start gun, because it doesn't come. I remember I used to be waiting for life to somehow happen to me. Like I was sitting in a cinema with my popcorn, staring at this big screen, waiting for the movie to start, without realizing I was the one holding the remote the whole time. I just hadn't pressed play yet. I'm not angry at myself for it, but looking back, wow, I wasted so much time in limbo. I was always technically busy, but nothing was really moving. Always tired, not because I was doing too much, but because I was living on standby. Everything looked fine on the outside, and I was doing well in some respects. But underneath, I had this constant frustration that I should be further along than I was. And deep down, I wasn't actually choosing anything. I was just hoping something would eventually choose me, if that makes sense. And I think that's what so many of us get stuck in. We're not avoiding growth, we're just waiting for it to start without us. We think something external will eventually choose us, but it doesn't. Your growth doesn't show up until you do. There's a quote I love by Charles, and I'm so bad at surnames, but I'm pretty sure it's Charles Bukowski, that says, "I was waiting for something extraordinary to happen, but as the years went by, I realized nothing ever did unless I caused it." And that line stops me in my tracks because it perfectly explains my previous self. Being passive doesn't just keep you stagnant, it literally steals years from you in a way that feels harmless in the moment. A month here, a season there, always telling yourself you're almost ready, until suddenly you're not sure where the last 5 years went. And that's the shift I had to make. To stop waiting for something to happen to me and start realizing that I had to make it happen myself. I know it's cliche and you may start to roll your eyes because you've heard this so many times, but you really do need to believe. Belief that something is going to work, and not in some woo-woo manifest your dreams kind of way, but logically. Because if deep down you don't believe something is going to work, you'll never give it the effort, the love, the persistence it actually needs. You'll hold back. You'll half try. You'll give yourself an easy exit. I've lived on both sides of this. The times I convinced myself, what's the point? This probably won't work anyway. Every action I took matched that belief. I played small and I didn't follow through. And of course it fizzled out, which only reinforced the story in my head. But the times I believed, I showed up differently. I stuck with things longer. I cared so much more. And funnily enough, that belief became the reason it actually worked. That's the difference belief makes. It doesn't magically deliver results, but it dictates the way you show up, and the way you show up decides everything. If you don't believe something is going to work, you consciously and subconsciously won't put in the effort, love, and care it requires. No moment is perfect. No plan, method, goal, or even person, but yet we remain still in the hope of it arriving for us. And perfectionism makes so much sense when you think about it, because in so many areas of life, that's exactly how we've been told to think. If you're going on a trip, you don't just grab your bag and leave. You check the doors are locked, you turn the lights off, you pack your suitcase, keys, purse, passport, everything in its place before you even get in the car. And honestly, that kind of precision feels good. It feels safe. Because anything less than perfection means you're potentially not even able to get on the plane. So of course we chase that same feeling before making a big change in our lives. We want to be certain. We want to have all the variables lined up neatly. We want that moment where it feels like everything's finally in order. But perfectionism is just the neatest disguise for procrastination. It looks like progress, but really it's just another way of stalling, another way of putting distance between you and the thing that actually matters. I was the princess of perfectionism, telling myself I was working on it because I was making plans, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, convincing myself that I was moving forward. But I wasn't. I was just rearranging things around the starting line. And in the moment, it felt so productive and useful. But nothing in my actual life was changing. Productive avoidance is what this is being coined now. Staying busy with all the things around the action while avoiding the one thing that would actually move the needle. Thinking we're growing just because we're consuming. Thinking we're moving forward just because we're busy. But no book, no podcast, no perfectly structured routine is going to change your life unless you actually apply what you already know. Perfectionism doesn't protect you. It doesn't guarantee a better outcome. It just slows you down. And all the while, time is still moving. Life is still happening. Imagine if we treated every birthday like a wedding ceremony. You know that pause moment when they ask everyone in the room if anyone objects to the marriage that's about to happen? Everyone's sitting there looking around to see if a random ex is about to burst through the door at the last second. Now imagine if every year on your birthday, right before you blow the candles out, there's that same pause. Someone asks, so any objections to how she's been living this year? Has she been authentic? Has she been intentional? Is she living in a way that she's proud to stand behind? We need a regular check-in to really cut through the noise, to ask ourselves if we are letting another month, another year go by. Maybe your next birthday isn't just about celebrating another year. Maybe it's the moment you finally object to the version of life you don't want anymore. Because the truth is, no one else is going to object for you. You're the only person who can.